welcome. Welcome to the dedication of Rachel Carson College. So Chancellor Blumenthal, EVC Galloway, Academic Senate Chair Einersdottir, Claudia and Alec Webster, Mark Headley, this is a long list. State Senate Majority Leader Bill Monning, Assemblyman Mark Stone, City Council Member Ryan Coonerty, Mr. Chuck Depew, who is here for founding Provost Paul Niebank, Deans Kamenecki and Solt, College 8 Provosts Cooperstein, Goldfrank, and Saz, present College Provost Abrams, Camps, Christie, Kylan, Carson, Leeds, Langholt, and Yang, College Fellows, faculty, staff, and students, and all our distinguished guests. Did I leave anyone out? I think that encompasses everyone. So once again, welcome. Now you can tell this is a momentous day because I am wearing a tie. And all of my friends will tell you that it takes a very special occasion for that to happen. My bar mitzvah and things like that. So it's a momentous day. College 8 was founded in 1972, and today, almost 45 years later, it has a new name. For making this possible, I want first to thank Claudia and Alec Webster, without whose enthusiasm and tireless efforts, this dedication would not have been possible. I also want to thank Mark Headley and Christina Pell, as well as the UC Office of the President, whose contributions have made possible the Robert Headley Presidential Chair in Integral Ecology and Environmental Justice in the college, and the Science Communication Presidential Chair. And finally, I want to thank University Relations, the UCSC administration, the staff of Rachel Carson College, and especially Ms. Jost Chamberlain, who was college capsy until this past April and was a tower of strength for me since I became provost in 2012. She retired in April, but she's here as an honored guest. So when I took the position of college provost on 4 years ago, I came with certain ambitions and goals: to provide maximum support to the college's students and academic programs and undergraduate education, to establish a minor in sustainability studies, which is now in its third year, and the goal of all College 8 provosts since 1972, to name the college. Inasmuch as the college theme is environment and society, it seemed appropriate that it be named for some well-known and prominent person in the national or global environmental movement. Of course, there are any number of individuals who could fit the bill, but looking at the existing UCSC colleges with names, I saw that none were named for women, and none, so far as I know, for a well-known woman biologist or environmental scientist, and especially one who played a prominent, if possibly unintended and posthumous role in launching the global environmental movement. In my view, the only person who met these requirements was Rachel Carson, and I became determined to name the college after her. As I have learned recently, I was not the first person with this idea. It was apparently discussed when the college was founded in 1972. It was apparently discussed when there was planning for this particular campus of the college, which began in the late 70s, and I'm sure many other people had that idea. So it's more in the kind of the fulfillment of a dream rather than just some idea that I plucked out of the air. So 50 years after her death, Rachel Carson is greatly admired by many, especially for Silent Spring, published in 1962, whose impact on the United States in particular cannot be understated. Carson wrote 3 other books about the ocean, which I actually recommend: The Sea Around Us, Under the Sea Wind, and The Edge of the Sea, and they're all timeless classics of science writing. But it is Carson's contribution to environment and society that makes her especially appropriate as this college's namesake. There's a well-known binary in the study of environment and human societies and their relationships: catastrophe or salvation. Will we destroy nature and ourselves by our heedless actions, or can our technology save it, nature, and us? In Silent Spring, I think, Rachel Carson took these questions on directly. As the old Monsanto ad put it, without chemicals, life would be impossible. To that, Carson responded, with too many chemicals, life itself becomes impossible. This was a proposition that few had raised before her, even in the 1960s, and it's certainly not in such a straightforward and challenging way. Carson called into question the modernist principle, one already present in struggles at the time over our nuclear future, that science and technology could only improve human welfare and make better the human condition. The point here is not whether Carson was right or wrong, but that through her writing, she was able to put the full debate about environment and society into the public eye. Today, we tell our students that writing is critical to avoid the humiliation of silence in the face of cruelty and injustice. And I believe that Rachel Carson did that. So by naming this college in her honor, we recognize her role in alerting us to the critical relationship between nature and humanity, and we also commit to teaching our students the knowledge, skills, and capabilities that we hope will enable them to think critically, not dogmatically, about the many issues and problems that confront our country and the world. UCSC has been in the forefront of research on and activism for the environment for more than 50 years. I think we hope that Rachel Carson College can lead for the next 50 years and beyond in making the relationship between environment and society a productive rather than a destructive one. Thank you. So next we have presentations by two former they were College A provosts. Now they're ex-Rachel Carson College provosts. Paul Niebank, who was the founding provost, and Jim Pepper, who played a really important role in the design and construction of this particular campus. Neither of them can be physically present for the dedication, although they're still quite alive and kicking. And so I want to introduce Chuck Depew, I think I've got that right, who was one of Paul's students and who graduated from Crown College in 1982. He's going to read Paul Niebank's comments. So why don't you come up here and
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I flew in from Seattle this morning and I'm still adjusting to that thing in the sky. So if I seem disoriented, you'll know why. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I was fortunate to be a college-age student of Paul Niebank's. Over the years, I have remained the student, have sometimes become the teacher, and always remained a close friend. Unfortunately, health issues keep Paul from joining us today. I'm humbled and a bit nervous to be his voice. So here are Paul's words. Good afternoon. My assignment today is to recall the early years of College 8. What a pleasure. I've had a long and varied career, but College 8 is my first love. Our college was founded in 1972. When I arrived, the administrative staff were already in place. A wise and witty and wonderful group they were, the bedrock of the college. We heard the starting gun and took off. Within 2 years, in partnership with boards of study, we hired half our faculty allocation. Young scholars we were, wide open to adventure, in the company of colleagues from across the academic spectrum. Poetry to physics, psychology to political science, language studies to law. We were a university in miniature. But the force of our founding was met with a counterforce. Anticipating a decade of declining university enrollment, the UC administration pulled back its commitment to build College 8 and shelved the architect's drawings. There would be no buildings, no name, no further hiring for at least a decade. In response, we took this freeze as a challenge. We caucused and we declared, we aren't here to be property managers or landlords, we're here to build a college. Faculty members from across the campus joined College 8, and we assembled into clusters of compatibility. We developed an array of exciting college courses. We met informally in what we called shop talks to compare perspectives. We governed ourselves with equal representation from our students. We became what our title indicated, College 8, the College of Environment and Society. Our students came from the ranks of older women, Vietnam vets, community college transfers, and eligible applicants who were turned away by UC Berkeley. Boo. The UCB rejects, I think there were t-shirts available at that time, turned out to be terrific students, and they were glad that they had been rejected. They lived in what were then called the married student apartments across the way, also in trailers and private rentals, and in a large motel on the dark side of Beach Hill. We rented it for 9 months a year so the owner could still make a bundle during the summertime. It was a win-win deal. The underutilized social science building became our administrative, academic, and community home. We turned it into a place of beauty and celebration. One student painted the walls of the huge lobby a striking abstract of sailboats on Monterey Bay. The room on the southwest corner became the K-Met's gallery, displaying students' creative work on a rotating basis. Another room became our snack bar, the College A Cafe. Each Thursday afternoon on the entrance patio, we produced a jazz and blues jam to which students from all over campus came. And we began a weekly publication, the College 8 newsletter, initiated, edited, sustained by students and staff. We estimated that more UCSC students read our newsletter than the City on the Hill press. We connected outside the university with the city and county by way of College 8 affiliates programs and by way of all manner of student internships, research projects, independent studies, work study arrangements, and senior theses. One student spotted a chance for us to compete for a cooperative education grant. We applied, we secured the grant, and it became something of a model for our work with the wider community. It was hard to tell where research ended and advocacy began, or where teaching ended and community service began. They were a blend, and each one energized the others. One senior project typifies the character and quality of these collaborations. This project had a real client and a deadline. The State Department of Parks and Recreation had acquired the Wilder Ranch and wanted to make it a state park. The resources were meager, and they were asked to produce a plan for free that would meet the state's requirements and come up to the high standards of the local environmental community. The students presented their work at a public hearing, and it passed with flying colors. The Wilder Ranch State Park became a reality. There's a happenstance event that stands out in my mind and heart. One winter quarter, College 8 co-sponsored Carole King, yes, that Carole King, for a few weeks as a UCSC visiting distinguished professor. Our first encounter with Carole was at lunchtime in that snack bar. There in the corner of the room was an old, broken down, upright piano. Carole noticed it, went to it, warmed it up, and transformed it into a Steinway. The offices and social sciences emptied, and the snack bar filled to overflowing. Carole sang, she made singers out of us, she brought out the best in us. One of her songs was Tom Paxton's lament, "Whose Garden Was This?" Here's a bit that I remember. Whose forest was this, and why is it empty? You say there was a bird song and squirrels in the branches. Then why is it silent? Tell me again, I need to know. The forest had trees, the meadows were green, the oceans were blue, the birds really flew. Can you swear that was true? From the founding of our college, we sought to examine the condition of the natural world and the destructive practices that were at work. We witnessed to an alternative way of life, and our claim was that this creative alternative is just as available as the one that had brought us to the crisis that Rachel Carson identified. I have two final stories. First, only 6 years after College 8 was born, the campus administration determined that thenceforth, that's a Paul word, that's not a my word, the colleges would be reaggregated according to conventionally defined disciplinary boundaries. This might have been a knockout punch. Most of our faculty members were reassigned to other colleges. It looked like the bottom would fall out. But we held our ground. The environmental studies program, itself interdisciplinary, had joined us by that time. We welcomed it. We moved forward with new energy, resolve, confidence, and hope. Second, from the beginning, we founders wanted something simple that would remind us of who we are and what we are meant to do. How about a bell? In a bell tower at the center of our campus. Yes, we wanted a bell. Another song by Pete Seeger. This one was so popular among us that it might as well have been called the College 8 song. You know it, and here's parts of it. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning. I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger. I'd ring out warning. Love. Thank you. It's the hammer of justice. It's the bell of freedom. It's the song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Thank you for helping me. I offer my Carole King, I'm not. I offer my heartfelt appreciation to Alec and Claudia Webster, who have made this day possible and who have given us a new name, Rachel Carson College. If we had a bell, we'd be ringing it all day long. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chuck, for reading those words from Provost Emeritus Niebank. It occurred to me I didn't tell you who I was, although probably some of you know who I am. I'm the current provost of Rachel Carson College, Ronnie Lipschutz. At this time, I want to read a few words from another former provost, Jim Pepper, who was a professor of environmental studies and is not able to join us today. But as I mentioned, he played a role in the design of the campus here. Provost Lipschutz, Chancellor Blumenthal, my dear friend Provost Emeritus Niebank, well, okay, donors Alec and Claudia Webster, friends and colleagues, and all of the rest of you. What an exciting day for this college. My warmest heartfelt appreciation to the Helen and Will Webster Foundation for bringing long-orphaned College 8 into the fullness of the family of UCSC colleges, specifically and so very appropriately as Rachel Carson College. What an honor the foundation, along with Alec and Claudia Webster, have bestowed on UC Santa Cruz in recognizing this dedicated and highly decorated environmental pioneer. And what an awesome responsibility this namesake places on us all to continue the challenges and personal sacrifices inherent in seeking to protect the ecological integrity of the global environment. Rachel Carson's quest for knowledge, along with her integrity and perseverance, surely serves as a solid foundation and inspiration for the college. We should also express gratitude to UCSC's founding chancellor, Dean McHenry, without whose vision and unwavering support, College 8 would not have survived. Our early years were truly a struggle, absent any permanent physical home, I should say, except for Kerr Hall, and faced with widespread skepticism among the broader faculty, many of whom questioned environmental studies as a legitimate academic pursuit. Yet it was Dean Henry's vision and steadfast campus leadership that kept the fledgling college and the environmental studies program alive. Dean would be delighted and smiling proudly to witness today's dedication of Rachel Carson College. In 1970, Chancellor McHenry recruited University of Washington professor Richard Cooley to Santa Cruz. In 1960, as a then recently minted PhD from the University of Michigan School of Natural Resources, Dick had taken a position with the prestigious Conservation Foundation in Washington, D.C. As you may know, at this time, Rachel Carson, weak from a battle with cancer, was struggling to complete the manuscript for her seminal and internationally acclaimed work, Silent Spring. The Conservation Foundation had appropriated modest funds to assist her in completing the manuscript, and among Dick's initial responsibilities was to serve as the liaison between the foundation and Rachel Carson. Hence, a direct link was forged between Rachel Carson and Dick Cooley the founder of the UCSC Environmental Studies program. What a potent germline. Our very best wishes to the continued and enhanced success of Rachel Carson College. And he's made these remarks on behalf of the 8 founding faculty of the college: Stanley Kane, Executive Committee Chair and Professor of Environmental Studies, deceased; Grant McConnell, Professor of Politics, deceased; Leo Laporte, Professor of Earth Sciences; Richard Olson, Associate Professor of History; Gerald Bowden, Assistant Professor of Environmental Studies; Kay Metz, Assistant Professor of Art; Gary Miles, Assistant Professor of History; and Jim Pepper, Assistant Professor of Environmental Studies. I want to add to this one of the founding fellows of the college, Bruce Bridgman, who tragically passed away in Taiwan this past summer. And he was a very committed member of the College 8 Faculty Fellows. So I next want to introduce Chancellor George Blumenthal and State Senator Bill Monning. Our campus is very fortunate to be represented in the State Senate Assembly and the Santa Cruz City Council by 3 very thoughtful and competent legislators. Today we're joined by Senate Majority Leader Bill Monning and Assemblyman Mark Stone and Santa Cruz City Council member Ryan Coonerty. All 3 are not only friends and supporters of this campus, but advocates for the environment, our natural resources, social justice, and public health. It's therefore fitting that they are here with a proclamation acknowledging the significance of this dedication. So I turn the floor over to Chancellor Blumenthal and State Senator Bill Monning and Assembly Member Mark Stone.
Well, thank you, Mr. Provost, and everyone for being gathered here on this historic occasion. Assembly Member Stone and I have the honor of presenting a certificate of recognition on behalf of the California State Legislature. I just wanted to offer a brief comment: the significance of Rachel Carson, my historic work, the privilege of working with Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta and the farm workers movement. Cesar was directly inspired by Rachel Carson and her discovery and spotlight on DDT, affecting not just our environment, but also affecting field workers and consumers. And it was through that movement that I think we see the rise of what we now recognize as environmental justice, and that part of the dedication of the Rachel Carson College today and the great support from the Websters and David Headley and others to fashion in the building of this dedication, not just the naming, but the forging of academic discipline and support for tomorrow's leaders in linking our environmental integrity with environmental justice. And I think too often we've seen a dichotomy between those considered environmentalists and those struggling in marginalized communities who are often the victims of pollution and chemical exposure. And ultimately, all of us who fight for the environment, we're looking at clean air, clean water, and a safe place to live. It's ultimately about public health and about all communities shaping a future that recognizes the protection of our environment is directly linked to the protection of our public health. And I'm going to defer to Assemblymember Stone. I guess just my final comment would be, you know when you go to a football game and there's a flyover of Air Force jets? I'm waiting for the flyover this afternoon of a fleet of brown pelicans cruising by this Rachel Carson dedication. So maybe if we will it, they will come. Mark and I have the honor of presenting this to Chancellor Blumenthal, and I think Mark has some comments as well.
Or perhaps, given how UCSC is nestled in the Redwoods, maybe it's the marbled murrelets that may come through. And back when I was on the Board of Supervisors and we were working with the city of Santa Cruz, and then City Council member, Mayor, and now Supervisor Ryan Coonerty, on behalf of the city and myself on behalf of the county, we're putting together a climate action compact. It was UCSC that stepped up to be a signatory and to help us on a path of sustainability back in the days when Rachel Carson was talking about the oceans and talking about DDT and waking us up to environmental impacts, and especially on the poorest communities throughout California. That fight still exists, but has changed in ways that I think she may not have contemplated as we fight global warming. So for the partnership between local jurisdictions and UC Santa Cruz, we are all very, very grateful. Now that I'm in the legislature and I co-chair the Legislative Environmental Caucus, and we are trying to set the tone for the rest of the world, not just the rest of the country, on what it means to be sustainable and take our responsibility seriously with respect to global warming and making those changes. Again, that what Rachel Carson has taught an entire generation, myself included, really carries forward to the fights that we have today. And then I also have to say that as we're on the cusp of perhaps the first woman president of the United States, to have the first UC college across the entire UC system named for a woman, and especially a woman whose message carries so much strength for us today, is absolutely appropriate, even though it's taken a number of years to get to this point. This is an auspicious occasion. This is an appropriate occasion for us to be honoring Rachel Carson College. I cannot think of a more fitting name for what College 8 has represented, for what UC Santa Cruz has represented, as we all look to the future and protect our future for all of our communities and all of our children. So congratulations. Thank you to the generous donors who have made this possible. Thank you to UC Santa Cruz for recognizing the importance of Rachel Carson to all of us.
Thank you so much, Mark and Bill. This is a real honor for the campus. And in fact, this is a great day for UC Santa Cruz and Rachel Carson College. I almost said College 8. This naming is being so well received because, as you know, this is the first college we as a campus have named since Porter College 35 years ago. And in fact, the Rachel Carson video on the web has gotten more than 320,000 views since the announcement of Rachel Carson College. And there's a reason why. It's because Rachel Carson was a kindred spirit to Rachel Carson College and to what our values are here at UC Santa Cruz. I particularly want to thank Ronnie Lifshitz, for his vision in conceiving the name Rachel Carson College. I think it is great. And for his stewardship of this naming as we moved it forward. I am particularly delighted that further generations of students will now share the legacy and the understanding of the importance of Rachel Carson in our history. Now, as I said, Rachel Carson's ideals were perfectly aligned with UC Santa Cruz and of this college. And the theme here is environment and society. Her landmark book, Silent Spring, exposed the dangers of wanton use of pesticides, including DDT. She described robins dying from DDT that was sprayed to kill Dutch elm disease, birds just falling out of the sky. She made the crisis of environmental toxins easy to understand by the general public. And she wrote a book, and the world changed. We at UCSC like to change the world as well. Think about the role that we played on this campus in saving the peregrine falcon from DDT-related extinction. That falcon was the fastest, or is the fastest bird in the world. But by 1970, only 2 pairs were left in California. Their population had crashed because DDT thinned their eggshells. Our researchers and students teamed up, led by Ken Norris and coordinated by Brian Walton, They did groundbreaking work in collaboration with Cornell University. They climbed cliffs in El Capitan and in Yosemite to recover thin-shelled eggs, incubate them, and then replace the chicks back into the nests after they were born. This was risky work, and it was groundbreaking work. And it was also a great success. Ultimately, there were hundreds of birds released back into the wild. And in fact, the falcons were removed from the endangered species list in 1999. Our students were on the front lines. They got to bear witness to the possibility. They saw that environmental damage can be reversed, and they helped to do it. Rachel Carson would have loved this story. She'd also love the coastal protections our researchers helped to design for the state, the largest science-based network of marine protected areas in the world. Again, our students are involved, monitoring fish populations and keeping tabs on how it's all working. And of course, UC Santa Cruz has pioneered organic, sustainable agriculture, literally helping transform the way we grow food in this country. The class of 2017 will mark the 50th year of the apprenticeship program in ecological horticulture, the longest running university-based organic training program in the country. And that's just a sampling of our environmental legacy. Just a sampling of why Rachel Carson College is such a good fit for this campus. That's something Alec and Claudia Webster understood immediately because they know and they appreciate UC Santa Cruz. I remember Alec when he was a technician at the Santa Cruz Institute of Particle Physics some years ago. But he became an alum of UC Santa Cruz, and he is now a trustee of our foundation board. And we will, in the fall, have the privilege of presenting the Fiat Lux Award to Helen and Will Webster Foundation at our Founders Day celebration on October 22nd. It's a wonderful thing to understand and be appreciated, to be supported for our strengths and for what makes us unique, including our colleges. Today is about Rachel Carson College, but I would be remiss in not mentioning the Webster Foundation's support for a broad range of programs across the campus. There's the magnificent Hay Barn, which is now the home to CASFAS. There are 5 endowed chairs for the university librarian and for other faculty. They have supported the Quarry Amphitheater, groundwater research, land stewardship and education, and our own campus archives. Their work has been extraordinary, and it has been inspiring to others as well. We are, in fact, building a culture of philanthropy on this campus, and the Helen and Will Webster Foundation is leading the way. Before I conclude, I want to tell one brief story about Alec and Claudia Webster. Several years ago, all 3 of us spent the day at the Big Creek Reserve, which is a part of the UC Natural Reserves, one of our so-called outdoor classrooms. Students were busy that day. They were assigned the task of working in teams to design a research project, carry it out and take data, analyze the data, and put together a presentation all in one day. It was great, and it was impressive, and I loved it. And in fact, Alec, Claudia, and I really enjoyed that presentation as the evening wore on. But I thought it was very interesting that Alec and Claudia both spent the night there, but I went home. I wanted to be in my nice warm bed. But Alec and Claudia were so committed. They stayed there throughout the night with the students who were also camping there. And that tells you a lot about Alec and Claudia. They're in this for real, they're in this for good, and they're in this for us. And I am so grateful to them. So at this point, I'd like you to welcome, please, Alec and Claudia Webster.
thank you very much and thank everybody for being here. And we wouldn't be here today if we hadn't had a lot of help along the way from all the people who've been talking and who've been mentioned already. So, and it is a very special day for the Helen and Will Webster Foundation. It's quite an opportunity to have the honor to name a college, but not just name a college, name it for somebody who has had and will continue to have such an impact on our country as well as the world. And it is a special day. I'm wearing a tie too. So I'm just gonna make a very short statement, and then Claudia will say something. And you've already heard some of this, but earlier this year, Professor Ronnie Lipschitz presented the idea of naming College 8 in honor of marine biologist and conservationist Rachel Carson. We could not conceive of anyone who would better embody the core values of UC Santa Cruz than this environmental pioneer. Environmental stewardship and social justice are critical issues facing our society and need to be forcefully addressed. Not only was Rachel Carson a pivotal figure in the modern environmental movement, but she accomplished this in the face of poverty, sexism, family responsibilities, and the constant threat of litigation. Heroically, she wrote and defended Silent Spring while terminally ill. Ms. Carson used her drive, literary talent, education, and solid scientific evidence to speak out, bringing public awareness to the dire consequences of ignoring the environment. We wish to honor Rachel Carson and the spirit of her work by establishing Rachel Carson College. The creation of the Robert Hedley Presidential Chair for Integral Ecology and Environmental Justice and the Presidential Chair in Science Communication will support and enhance this effort. And have no doubt, this is an investment. This is an investment in the students of UC Santa Cruz. And I'm a firm believer in compounded interest, and we're investing today because we expect and know there will be a result tomorrow. Thank you very much.
What we are hoping is a small thing, really. We are asking all of you to go forth and change the world. It may seem an impossible task, but you all have everything you need to do the job. You have to use what you have and who you are, along with the talents you've been given and the gifts society has awarded you, including the challenges you must overcome to bring goodness to the world. We must remember it isn't our job to merely acquire wealth. It is our job to make the world a better place for those that come after us. It is a responsibility we, as a society, have perhaps been overlooking. You may be thinking, I'm not destined for greatness, but greatness on the part of a few is achieved through good, solid work of many. This gift is not the largest this university has received, but we hope to, as my husband likes to say rather ironically, move the oil tanker, AKA the world, just a bit to the right direction. That's why the Webster Foundation is investing in all of you here, now, at this time and place, that we see so much potential. You are doing the right work that needs to be done now to secure a worthwhile tomorrow. We would like to thank all of you that see the bigger purpose in your work. There would be a lot of names to insert here, but you know who you are, and we hope you know that we appreciate you. Rachel Carson challenged authority, risked everything, and changed the world for the better. In doing so, she provided a model that students need and deserve, and that we as a society require. Thank you.
Okay, now we come to the last part of this ceremony, which is the unveiling. And I think we're all supposed to participate in this. It is a nice one, and the spelling is correct. So, that concludes the formal ceremony. I want to remind you that William Souder, biographer of Rachel Carson, is going to be speaking at 5 p.m. On a Farther Shore, his book, at the Music Recital Hall, and of course it's open to the public. What? Oh, and it's a really good book. Okay, it got a lot of recognition and received was nominated for the Pulitzer, I think. Anyway, okay. So it'd be really great if you could come. Okay, and now I conclude the ceremony and invite you to partake of the food at the reception. Thank you all for coming, and we certainly hope to see you again.